The best video I ever made for my YouTube channel is the one titled, "You Hate Black People If You Support the Coup in Niger." In that video, which I spent 2 days making while wearing the same outfit, I talk about how many pro-black pundits online were lauding the soldiers who overthrew the fairly elected president of that Sahelian nation, Mohamed Bazoum. I think this was the best video essay I've ever done because I took the stance that Pan-Africanists upset about the current neocolonialism plaguing the continent shouldn't succumb to aggrandizing guerrilla governance from acrimonious actors adorned with AKs and army apparel. I'm proud of that. I also adore this video because in it I say something along the lines of, are we really celebrating guys pulling up to depose democratic leaders donning fly fascist fashion? Fly fascist fashion. If I were smart, I would trademark that or at least buy the domain name. I'm no Jasmine Crockett, but alliteration I make has a way of sticking stuff to the skull. While the world's attention, including the pro-coup pontificators, has moved on to other issues like Gazan genocide or diaspora debates, I have continued to consume content related to the Sahel states that had successive coups, Mali, Niger, Guinea, and Burkina Faso. While information about what's happening in this obscure yet large section of West Africa is terse in Anglophone media, generally what I predicted came to be, unfortunately. There has been a curtailing of civic freedoms, restrictions on the press, no true economic advancement for the people, absolutely zero moves towards civilian control of the state, and the expulsion of Western militaries just to invite Russian mercenaries enticed by gold bricks and yellow cake. One thing I did not predict, but am unsurprised by, is that violent Islamist groups like ISIS have taken huge swaths of territory in countries like Burkina Faso, where the state soldiers seem helpless in fighting back the tide of black flags. The situation is also sad, but I believe even sadder than the world's apathy to African tragedy is the ideology carried by black men far removed from those places that rooted on the rebels in Toyota pickup trucks, flipping their countries upside down. I know where the sentiment comes from. As black men in this white supremacist world, we are extirpated from truly exercising power, laying claim to masculinity or humanity in totality, and stuck in a rut globally, subservient to others. Those types of circumstances would make any group of people rally behind any cause or action that would lead to liberation, even if it's a fallacy. That got me thinking about this. When other groups experience economic deprivation and or social castigation, there arises a hardline reactionary or revolutionary movement that dials up ire against the other, exalts the in-group above all outsiders, and coalesces around a strongman leader. That's typically called fascism, albeit I provided an oversimplified version of it. In response to our dire situation, which has only slightly improved since the formal abolition of our bodies being used in chains to kickstart global capitalism, we have embraced and developed numerous ideologies to reclaim and attain autonomy. There's Afro-Marxism, Afro-capitalism, Black liberation theology, Afro-optimism, Afro-pessimism, Afro-futurism, Black nationalism, all the shades and variances of Pan-Africanism, and even more than I care to name or look up. Where is Afro-Fascism? I'll define what fascism is soon, but I assume the audience is smart enough to have an idea of what I'm getting at. Where is the mocha Mussolini, the copper-colored Franco, the black man's version of Oswald Mosley, the melanated Hitler? We've replicated the white man's movements and ways in almost every area except in the extreme right realm. There is a part of me that wants to resist even entertaining this idea, because once Pandora's box is open, it can't be closed. And I'd hate to be the point of origin for some unborn totalitarian who will cause unspeakable horrors. It's also possible that thinkers and academics vastly smarter than I have already broken down this idea, and I'm late to the party. Admittedly, I didn't Google Afro-Fascism before putting pen to paper because I wanted this to be totally original. If I retread worn roads, I encourage all to let me know and to point me in the direction of media and literature that has made this journey. Now, what is fascism? Fascism is a far-right authoritarian political ideology that emphasizes strong, centralized control, often led by a dictatorial leader. It is characterized by the suppression of opposition, extreme nationalism, militarism, and a belief in the supremacy of the nation or race above all else. Fascist regimes typically reject democracy, individual rights, and political pluralism, instead advocating for a unified, often totalitarian state that controls many aspects of life, including the economy, media, and education. Fascism emerged in the 20th century, most notably in Italy under Benito Mussolini and in Germany under Adolf Hitler. Both regimes pursued aggressive expansionist policies, leading to widespread conflict, including World War II. Fascism also promotes the idea of a natural social hierarchy where certain groups are considered superior and others inferior, leading to policies of discrimination and persecution, such as anti-Semitism in Nazi Germany. While classical fascism is most associated with the interwar period, this term is sometimes used more broadly to describe modern movements or governments that exhibit similar authoritarian and nationalistic traits. However, this broader use can be controversial and imprecise. In many ways, we have seen Black diasporan and Black African movements check many of these boxes. For example, you could argue the 5%ers saying the Black man is God is an exaltation of the race over all others. The conservative Black preachers with large followings of any religious stripe promote the idea of traditional gender social hierarchies. Many African and Caribbean countries have ultra-nationalist movements, if not outright periods where strong men ruled. Dictatorial African regimes waged bloody civil wars and battled other nations, and all of the above have some outgroup they demonize to some degree. However, there has yet to be a movement, thinker, leader that explicitly picks up Mussolini's fasci like a baton and runs with it like an Ethiopian Olympic sprinter. Maybe it's just not within Black people to hate the same way the white man does. After centuries of degradation and abuse and current injustices that befall us, which we could lay squarely at the feet of white supremacy, there is no active movement or prevailing sentiment that advocates anti-white bigotry, hatred, or violence. At most, the most radical idea you'll find are Pan-Africanists wanting to peacefully separate from white society by moving to Black Africa. We don't want vengeance by and large. We don't want to enslave white people, rape their women, lynch their sons, or firebomb their houses of worship. It's actually commendable in my eyes how magnanimous we are, and it solidifies my belief that we, Black people, truly are God's chosen ones because our collective behavioral existence exemplifies the Lord's grace. Nevertheless, let's just entertain the idea that we're spiteful. Let's just imagine we had a thorn in our side about our time since we met the white man. Let's say we did what we've done many a time, take European inventions and make them better. Let's say we went fascist. What would that look like? I'll give it a shot sketching out what Afro-Fascism would look like to me, but I want to make it clear that these are not my views or beliefs. It's just a thought exercise. We, the Black melanated masses, were the original people on planet Earth. When God made man evolve past primitive primates to stand upright, Adam, in all his glory, had a broad nose, thick lips, dark eyes, and woolly hair. When the Lord crafted the companion to man, perfection was achieved when Eve was conceived as the curvaceous Calyptian Black woman. The Garden of Eden was Africa, where the Black man led the Black woman and child to populate and dominate over the earth. There was never the fall of man, for God made Africa the eternal home for the Black man, where great civilizations would flourish and prosper with everlasting resources under his feet. The Black man and woman only left Eden after hundreds of thousands of years of cultivation, seeking to explore the rest of God's world. Europe, Asia, Australia, Oceania, and both Americas were first inhabited by the first man and woman. Evidence of our genetic ancientness can be seen today in the dark-skinned indigenous people in any land, and relics of our regency can be noted by the obelisks in Sudan or the pyramids of Giza. Over the centuries, our descendants mutated to not only no longer look like us, but think and act like us as well. For millennia, they waged war and committed atrocities amongst and against each other, fighting over finite resources in their lands that are nearly boundless in Africa. In their quest to conquer trade routes, accumulate wealth, and secure supremacy, the black man and woman of Eden were hauled off in chains to directions east and west to forcibly serve their captors' kingdoms, empires, and republics. Through those centuries of bondage where even Eden itself was carved up and colonized, the children of man sought to corrupt and mangle God's masterpiece. The black man and woman were debased to the point that some adopted the ways, religions, habits, and anti-blackness of their oppressors. Even when the literal chains were removed, the shackles on the mind couldn't shake the perversion that was done. Where now millions in the diaspora share the white man's blood and can only speak in his tongue. Brothers and sisters, our time has now come. We must restore our families, restore our minds, restore our continent, and restore our standing in the world by reclaiming dominion over it as dictated by God to Adam. The black man needs to return to his role as the leader of a household, strong, resolute in providing moral and spiritual guidance to his woman and child. The black woman needs to be subservient to her husband and know that the supporting role she plays by birthing and raising children while tending to household is central to strong nation building. The nation is only a composition of families, and the stronger the individual parts, then the stronger the whole. As such, the nation should be modeled after the family, so a powerful, commanding male leader is necessary to head the nation, while equally strong, though less ambitious men maintain the mechanisms of the state through minor decision-making. There do not need to be general elections to select the leader, because the unitary party shall pick from within its own ranks to ensure the cream rises to the top. Black man and woman, we must purify our blood like we seek to purify our nation. We can no longer corrupt our most beautiful phenotypes or our genetic gifts by bastardizing our progeny's bodies, crossbreeding with the inferior men and women of others, even if we have the dominant genes. If we seek to return to our highest state when we ruled and walked this earth alone, then we must return our bloodlines to the black race. We are naturally the fittest, tallest, strongest, fastest, smartest, the most artistic, the most cultured, the most well-endowed people, and there is nothing found in any other race that we cannot find within ourselves at multitudes of magnitude greater. If we exist as minority communities in the diaspora, such as the United States or Brazil, it is imperative that we unify our families, our neighborhoods, our strong men like bundles of reeds till the collective cannot be broken. After, those strong black men must be the vanguard for leading the charge to take control over the state, because our racial superiority mandates that we be the sole arbiters of power. If we exist in African nations, each individual country should foster its own movement of unifying the family, community, and state around the natural hierarchy dictated by God, administered by an all-powerful executive, backed by one-party rule. For both the diasporan and the African black fascists, collaboration should be done while maintaining sovereignty of the states, and any political action, including violence, shall be utilized to attain power to ultimately conclude the democratic process. Religion shall be permitted, but only one faith shall be sanctioned by the state, and that could take the form of Islam or Christianity, where blackness and the state is centered, or a whole new theism is created. Capitalist commerce and corporate creation can commence, but it will work closely with the state to make sure the natural social hierarchy of black supremacy is maintained. With these core tenets in mind, let us rise up, black man and woman, to reclaim our thrones. There is more to say and even more to do, but this is Afro-Fascism. Let's take it all back and return to our rightful place in fly fascist fashion. Signing out for our people, Simon Hill.